Welcome to video 3B, where we will watch a slideshow of all the monoliths in date order. But before we do that, what we're going to do is take a look at the story and the aspects of the monoliths. Just to give you a summary, the monoliths are made by the same ones who have made crop circles. The monoliths were a sign from God for wiping out the coronavirus. Everything to do with them is to do with healing and recovery, etc. So the Monolith Story, as far back as I can name, 2008, we see this pi crop circle. Why is that? Because the human DNA, which corona attacked, uses pi to turn. Now, if you take a look at the bearing angle between this crop circle and the future one on the day of the vaccine, you'll notice it's 230 degrees. The 230th verse in the Bible is to do with festering boils will break out. It's all to do with disease and sickness and overcoming that. This crop circle is like an 11-year seed planted by God. Okay, it's actually 11 years exactly and 36 days. 36 is the labor of man. Now fast forward to 2019, where corona starts affecting people, starts spreading, and the death rate soars. Because why? Corona, SARS-CoV-2, is a deadly virus. Some people today say they got corona. No, you did not. The coronavirus has not been seen since 2020. It got eradicated. Corona ends up taking 3 million people. On the 4th of May 2020, this is the day up in heaven God decides to show man mercy. 21 days later, 7 plus 7 plus 7, God lifts up his magic wand and performs this miracle of wiping out the coronavirus. On this day, we see this crop circle of a dove. The dove represents the Holy Spirit. 3 days later, we get this crop circle. Boom. This is the same day as the vaccine announcement. You can see here it has 8 pillars, 8 protein spikes around it, and you have this combination of 3, 3, and 3. 8 times 3 is 24. 24 times 8 is 192. 9 features around the outside, then it has 18 and 18. So you got these numbers here, 9, 18, and 18, summing up to 45, 36. So we have these numbers, 28, Matthew 28, he is risen. This is where Jesus rises from the dead. In Acts 28, the sick were healed, and others from the island came and were cured. In Ezekiel 36, I will give you a new heart. Genesis 45, God sent me ahead to preserve life. 57 days after the miracle, we're closing into the time when the monoliths start. Okay, here's a 192-foot circle. And exactly 122 days later, the monoliths start. Day 177 from God's miracle in heaven, or you could look at it like day 174 from the vaccine announcement, or the day man receives God's miracle, is this date. 144 plus 30, the wall God made to separate man from disease, and Jesus' ministry. Now don't forget, Jesus is the one cracking the seals of the scroll. So he's very much a part of the story. Brief view of my data. There is a first wave of monoliths. Okay, and there's a second wave of monoliths. Now, the first one and the second one, each monolith has its own little theme. They all conform to a certain dimensions and height and shape. However, they're all slightly textured differently because they have a different local story. Now this one here with the UFO on it, beaming a light down to the ground, and the eagle flying overhead, and you got this strange writing all over it. This one just happens to be New Mexico, Albuquerque, very close to where Roswell crash happened. Isn't that interesting? Now, the dimensions of the monoliths themselves, you'll see that some of them are 10.5 feet. Now, why is that? Because there are 10.5 base pairs in the human DNA. The human DNA is what was attacked by the coronavirus. And that also measures 6.66. 666 is a number represents great wisdom and wealth and understanding. Now, I have a current count of like 134 plus 13, and some of them I might say are a little bit skeptical. Some I think are genuine. But what is the true total here? And if you look at these angles, some of them are sloped, some of them are flat topped, some are triangles, some are square, and some have these angles on them. So I think maybe this is the truth. There were 144 triangular ones, 12 square ones, and that slope total of 840 degrees in total, if you sum them all up, happens to be 7 times 120. Now, all the monoliths, they had their face panel, one of the panels, pointing to true north, not magnetic north, true north. All the monoliths were placed within a magnetic declination of 5 and 14. 5 representing the gifts and grace of God, and the 14 represents deliverance. And it averaged at 9.3 degrees, meaning man stumbled. 72 of the 144 first wave monoliths were all placed in a summer sunrise, and 72 were placed in a winter sunrise. Why is that? Well, Jesus did send out 72 in the name of peace and healing. If you sum up all the distances between all the monoliths, you get to the same distance as the Earth to the Moon. Why is that? Because the Moon represents the light coming into the world. If you averaged all the angles to the first temple, you get 180 degrees. Now, God's people did a 180-degree turn from the corona pandemic, because that's what God does. He looks after his people. Over time, all the monoliths were placed using the Fibonacci sequence over time. Why? Because that represents life and growth. This is an actual radial chart of all the monoliths being plotted over time. Here again is a time between the 2020 monoliths, and if you extend it out to the 2024, 3 monoliths that appeared in 2024, do you see how a timeline displacement graph, this is 1,000 days, you get 1,000 days up here. Do you see how the plotted monoliths actually draw a big triangle in the end? Why? Because it represents God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit in the Trinity. 30 monoliths could be lined up with another 30 to be parallel to the north and south polar axis of the Earth. If you measure the distance between the center of the Earth and the monolith in both the X and Y direction, you end up with 280 values. So out of those 280 values, only 10 make perfect Hebrew words. And 5 of them are the same, and 5 of them are the same. And we got 5 hearts and 5 spoons. It's all to do with God's grace and his provisions and his gifts. Now the number 8 comes up regularly. You'll see that some monoliths are sectioned into 8. Why? Well, there's 8 amino acids in the coronavirus that uses to attach itself to the human. And the 8th day marks circumcision. You got 8 people that survived in the ark, and Jesus appears on the 8th day to Thomas. Now one of these monoliths actually has a snow crop circle around it. Well, not a crop circle, a snow circle. What do you call a snow circle? I don't know. But anyway, it's got 24 of these spirals. It actually looks too fluted. Maybe it's one flute. I don't know. It looks too fluted. But anyway, it's got 24 of these little bow ties around the border. Now, why is that? Well, 8 times 24 is the number of days that the monoliths ran for. There are 24 subunits in the coronavirus. Now, the last one of 2021, which was the end of the first wave, this is the last one. Now, 119 days later, you have the second wave. Now, the second wave, 1, 2, 3, that's where their plotted positions are on the Earth. The whole lot, the 3, consume 34% of the Earth. And if you look at what's remaining, 66%. Now, Luke 6:6, this is where Jesus meets the man with a withered hand and heals him. See, it's all to do with healing and God healing the world from corona. The number of days between the first and the third monoliths of the second wave is Jesus' number, 106. The variants are listed here, and there's a first wave of variants and also a second wave of variants. The first wave is 19, the second wave is 21, 3 sevens, and together it totals up to be 40, which is the number man takes to go through his trials. So man has gone through this trial with the corona pandemic. Now you may say, oh no, there's more than just these 40 variants. Well, the others are actually sublineages. There's 310 sublineages. So I've not included that in my explanation. Now on that note, let's now watch the slideshow. you enjoyed that slideshow. Now, there's, as you can see, many of these monoliths, and some of them are unique and deserve studying. They like crop circles. They all have a unique message. But together, they all stood as demonstrating healing and recovery. For a more in-depth, detailed study, look at video 3A on my channel. I hope you enjoyed that. Goodbye.